Yeah, everyone knows me as the Cash Cab guy. Some people think that's my name. They just yell it out at me.
Thank you very much. I am the Cash Cab guy. I'll tell you how I know that. Everyone that I saw today told me. Everyone. Over and over.
But they don't recognize me as much with hair on my head because everyone thinks I'm bald or at least had very little hair. But I actually had hair the whole time. I just kept it extremely short. So they don't recognize me as that as much anymore, the Cash Cab guy. They kind of go, they kind of look at me like, who is that guy? I know that guy. Did I go to high school with that guy? Was he the guy that drove me over here? Kind of a look. They can't place me. Sometimes they're like, they think I'm Mike Rowe, the dirty jobs guy, which I'm not. But I do get that a lot. I was on a flight. The flight attendant comes over and he goes, "Getting all these people in their seats is kind of a dirty job, eh?" And I laughed like way too inappropriately loudly for the ridiculous little joke that he had made. And he just looked at me like, oh shit, maybe that's not the guy. I never thought I was going to be a game show host. This guy, the show's won some Emmys, so we go to the daytime Emmys every year. And there was a guy that won from Family Game Night, the host of Family Game Night. He went up, he said, "All my life I wanted to be a game show host." I was like, this guy deserves this so much more than I do. I never had any intention of being a game show host. I used to laugh at game show hosts as a kid. But it turns out, I actually love it. And I love those guys, the classic characters, the classic game show guys, and I'm absolutely proud to be one of them.
Hey, how you doing? Where you going?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Where you heading?
42nd and 6.
You guys are in the Cash Cab. It's a TV game show that takes place right here in my taxi.
Oh my God.
What do you say? You want to play?
Yeah.
The Cash Cab audition process was kind of grueling. It took about 6 weeks from beginning to end. It started with a regular audition, sitting in a casting room, pretending to be driving. The two casting directors sitting behind you, so if you turn around, they're just kind of powerfully staring at you. Like, oh, this is fun. This is going to be a fun show. But it was actually good practice because of the high pressure there, in the cab. It was kind of like that later. But so 1, 2, 3 of those, then a meeting with the production company, then another audition. I think it was 5 callbacks altogether, plus a background check, taxi school, urinalysis. I can't remember what else, but I had to jump through a lot of hoops. It took 6 weeks, and then finally it was like, all right, you're in.
Often served in a sweet curd, the limequat is a hybrid of the lime and what odd-sounding South Asian fruit?
Kumquat.
Kumquat.
Hey, watch your mouth in this cab. Kumquat is right, and you're on the board with $50.
Yeah, I had to get a hack license, which took me, I think I had 3 weeks to do it. I went in to take the taxi test and find out if I had to go to taxi school because I already knew the city. I had been a limo driver for years, and I'd been driving around doing stand-up shows for about a decade at that point. So I knew the city pretty well. So I was a little cocky going in. I was like, I don't know if I need to really prepare. Maybe I can just pass the test. And the guy was like, okay. He goes, take this little practice test. He had a little test for guys who thought they could pass the test without taking the class. Gave it to me. One of the questions, if you're at Yankee Stadium and you need to get downtown, what bridge would you take? And there's a list of bridges. There's multiple choice, 5 bridges. I had never heard of any of them. So I was like, after the first question, I was like, all right, I think I'll take the class. There is a lot riding on this. I think I'll go and take the class. I was the only white man in the class. When I went in, they thought I was the teacher. Quite literally, I walked to the front. I walked in the door and stopped to scope out a seat, and everyone got their pencils and everything ready and sat out. They were all looking at me. And then I walked in and sat down in the back. And they were all like, what the hell is this guy doing? It was an interesting experience. When I was taking the test, there's 3 guys proctoring. One of the guys goes, Benjamin Bailey, raise your right hand. And I put my hand up, and it's all quiet in this huge room. And he goes, thank you. And then I hear him lean to the other guy and go, I told you it was the white guy. And then they did roll call, and every other name was like Amadou, and there was nothing anywhere close to Benjamin Bailey in there. So it was pretty funny.
So people do say the same stuff a lot. They ask me the same questions a lot. They go, hey, did you have to get a real taxi license to host that show? And I say yes, because I did. And then they always make the same joke. They think it's brilliant. They go, well, at least you got something to fall back on.
What am I doing now? I have a new show called Ben Bailey's America, a name, surprisingly, which I did not select, but I'm quite proud of. It's a show on Game Show Network, which is now called GSN, where we travel around the country and we just sort of cover these ridiculous sporting events / competitions that exist. We went to Mountain View, Arkansas for the annual championship outhouse races, which are taken very seriously. There's several different classes and styles, and it's quite a deal. So it's basically that. We covered that. We covered a race called the Iditarod. Instead of the Iditarod, it's instead of a sled, the competitors have a shopping cart, and instead of dogs, they have idiots. So it's a 5K shopping cart race. So that's Ben Bailey's America, and if we make more, there'll be all these. There's a million weird competitions. Every time I go somewhere and do radio, they go, "Oh, you got to come here for our, pumpkin throw, or the wife carry, or like." And everywhere you go, it's big time business in these small towns. It's bragging rights for a year. It's like there's a lot riding on it, So that's kind of the gist of that show. What else am I doing? I have my Black Sabbath tribute band. We're called A Bit of Finger is the name of our band, after a Sabbath track. About 5 years ago, I went to a buddy's bachelor party, and all they played was Black Sabbath. It was a whole weekend, like fishing trip down in Atlantic City. This guy just played Black Sabbath the entire weekend. And so I heard all this Sabbath that I had never heard before. For the first few hours, I was like, could you turn this off? Could we put something else on? By the next morning, the first morning of the trip, I was like, I was done. I was like the biggest Sabbath fan. I wanted to hear stuff again. I just tuned into them, and I was like, these guys are such an amazing band. They're so much better than I imagined they would be, and I just never really gave them that attention. I was steered away from them. So I literally listened to nothing but Black Sabbath for a good 2 years while I was driving anywhere I was, in the car, in the house, at the beach. And then I was like, wait a minute. I've been playing guitar since I just all of a sudden realized, why don't I see if I can play this stuff? And it just kind of worked. I just loved playing this Sabbath stuff so much that I was like, I'm going to start a Sabbath tribute band, which, I'm one of 10,000 people who have done that, And so I picked my two guys that I thought were the best to be my bass player and my drummer, and I was going to be lead guitar, Tony Iommi, right? This guy. But I don't know. I'm going to keep doing it forever. I'm never going to stop playing Black Sabbath in my basement on Thursday nights and drinking beer with my friends, because it's like, we joke that our lives have become the time in between rehearsals. Like, we're that into it. It's like, okay, what day is it? Is it Thursday yet? Jesus, when is it going to be Thursday so we can start fucking playing,